is Unit 5, Lesson 4, talking about quick graphs using intercepts. You got two objectives written there. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, what we have here is a graph of a line. Remember, we've got two axes, the x-axis and the y-axis that are right here. Okay, now when we talk about intercepts, the x-intercept is simply where the line crosses the x-axis. So this point right here is called the x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, and the y-intercept is right here. This is the point where it crosses the y or up and down axis. Okay, well notice the x-intercept, if it crosses the x-axis, then y has to be 0. Okay, if the x-intercept was here, the y value is still 0. If it was here, it's still 0. Okay, so the x-intercept again is wherever x is when y equals 0 on our line. Likewise, the y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So we haven't moved side to side if it's on the y-axis, so x equals 0. So again, it's the value of y on our line when x is 0. That's the y-intercept. Or again, more simply put, the x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis and the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. Coordinates of an x-intercept are whatever x is and 0, because again the y has to be 0. So the x is wherever x is when y is 0. And the coordinates of a y-intercept are 0 for x and then wherever y is when x is 0. Okay, so wherever it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so that's what intercepts actually mean. Now, they can be quite useful when we want to make graphs quickly. If we know the x-intercept and the y-intercept, we can plot these 2 points and just connect them to make a really quick graph. So that's what we're going to do a lot on this, is we're going to find intercepts and we're going to use those to make really quick, easy graphs instead of using the table of values. So you guys will probably like this a lot better than the graphing beforehand. Alright, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, sometimes you're going to be asked to use the graph to find the x and the y intercepts. Okay, so again, we're looking for exactly where it crosses the x and y axis. So on this one, okay, looking at the x-intercept, again, that's where it crosses this axis right here. So you can see that that point for the x-intercept is going to be right here. Okay, that's where it crosses the x-axis. So that's the x-intercept. So we can write this one two ways. The x-intercept is 2. That's where it crosses the x-line. Or we can write it as an ordered pair, where again, the x value is wherever it crosses the line, so 2, and the y value is 0. Okay, we can write it either of those two ways. So now the y-intercept, again, is where it crosses the y-axis, well that's up here. Okay, so the y-intercept is at positive 3. And if we want to write that as an ordered pair, the y-intercept is where x equals 0, and it crosses the y-axis at 3. Alright, now most of the time I'll recommend that you write it this way. Okay, I want you to write your intercept as an ordered pair. Sometimes your book may ask you to just write it this way, or you'll see it written this way. But if you're asked to write the intercept, I want you to write it as an ordered pair. Okay? Alright, let's go on to some more examples. Sometimes we'll be given an equation instead of the graph and be asked to find the x and y intercepts. So this is going to involve a little algebra. Okay? So remember, the x-intercept, we got to think about what we know about the x-intercept. Well, we know that y has to equal 0 at the x-intercept. Okay, so what we're going to do to figure this out is we're going to plug in 0 for y in this equation, because we know for the x-intercept y has to be 0. So we're going to have 2x plus, instead of 3 times y, we're going to have 3 times 0 equals 6. And we're going to use order of operations to solve this thing. Well, we got 2x plus 3 times 0 is 0. So we're just going to put 2x equals 6. And then we divide by 2. And we get x equals 3. So the x-intercept is 3. So we're going to write that as an ordered pair of 3, 0. So that's where this graph crosses the x-axis. Alright, likewise, we can do the y-intercept and think about what we know about the y-intercept. We know that when it crosses the y-axis, x has to be 0. So this time we're going to plug in 0 for x. So instead of 2 times x, we're going to have 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 6. And 2 times 0 is 0, so over here we're just left with 3y equals 6. And when we divide by 3, we get y equals 2. And now we want to write that as an ordered pair. Okay, well, x is 0 and y is 2. And there's our y-intercept. And I guess up here, I should have put that this is my x-intercept. Okay, and our answer. Now, as we get better at this, and we get this, and some of you will get this right away, I know that you can probably do this in your head, but I want to see the work. Okay, show me where you plug in 0 for each one of these, and then solve it down. Okay, like an equation. So that's how you find the x and y intercepts. You plug in 0 accordingly, and then solve for the variable you need. Alright? Okay, let's go on to more examples. Okay, this example says graph the line that has the given intercepts. And they tell us the x-intercept is 3, and the y-intercept is -1. Well, so we're just going to go ahead and plot the intercepts. The x-intercept is 3, so we're going to go put our point at 3 on the x-axis. And the y-intercept is -1, so that's a -1 on the y-axis. And again, we're doing quick graphs, so all we need to do is connect that line. Okay, connect those 2 points to make a line. And it should go something like this, with arrows on the end, of course. And Mr. Ayers is allowed to freehand on the iPad because I don't have a straight edge to use, so make sure you use a straight edge. Again, whenever we're graphing lines, use a straight edge. So that's a really quick, nice, easy way, if we find the intercepts, to make a graph without having to do the whole table of values. Okay, let's keep on going. Okay, this example has multiple things we need to do. We need to first find the x and y intercepts of the line. Then we need to graph it, and then it says it wants us to label the points where the line crosses the axis. So again, the first thing we need to do is find the intercepts. So I'm going to find the x-intercept first by plugging in 0 for y. So my x-intercept, I'm going to have 6x minus 0 equals 36. Well, that means that 6x is equal to 36, and my x-intercept is 6. Okay, so one of my points is the x-intercept, 6, 0. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure I know this is my x-intercept. I'm going to go ahead and plot that point after I get done. Okay, and the reason why I want to plot that point is because you'll notice here I got my coordinate grid all drawn out, but I want to know what the scale is. Okay, I might not want to count by ones along this line. Because we might have bigger numbers. So let's go ahead and figure out what the y-intercept is. And we'll just do that right down here. Again, the y-intercept is where x equals 0. So we're going to have 6 times 0 minus y equals 36. Well, we'll change that to 6 times 0 plus the opposite of y equals 36. And the 6 times 0 zeroes out, so we just have the opposite of y equals 36. Well, if we could divide by -1, or we could just figure out what the opposite of y is. Okay, we know the opposite of y is 36, so y has to be -36. So my y-intercept is going to be at 0 and -36. So again, here, with the discrepancy between the 2 points, we got a pretty small number here and a bigger number here. So we're not going to want to count by ones on our axis because it will take us forever to get to -36. So I'm going to go ahead and label my axis. I'm going to count by 6. So here's 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36. And then we'll have to label the other side. We got -6, -12, -18, -24, -30, -36. And that's good enough for me for this graph because this will include my points I need. So I've got my x-intercept is 6, 0. That's right here. And my y-intercept is 0, -36. That's all the way down here. Now notice it is important to make sure you write your scale on both axes. So I've got my scale showing I'm counting by 6s on the x-axis and on the y-axis. And normally you'll want to keep those consistent. Okay, meaning count by the same number on the x-axis as you do on the y-axis. Well, now all we got to do is connect those points. Again, you use a straight edge for the purpose of the video. I am not. We will just freehand. Not too great, but straight enough for the video purposes. And there's our quick graph. Okay, using our two intercepts. Now we need to label the points where the line crosses the where the line crosses the axes. Well, that just means I want to label this point as 6, 0 on my graph, and label this point as 0, negative 36 on my graph. Okay? Alright, and let's go on to our last example. Alright, and here's kind of a real-world example of how we can read one of these graphs. So it says your 100-meter dash time is 10 seconds. This graph right here, distance equals negative 10 times the time plus 100, shows your distance from the finish line over time. Okay, and your time is in seconds here. So what we're saying is your distance from the finish line is equal to negative 10 times the number of seconds you've run plus 100. Okay, and we want to know, what do the points 0, 100 up here and 10, 0 represent? Well, the first point, 0, 100, think about what that represents. That is at the point right here. So our time is 0 and our distance is 100. Okay, the distance from the finish is 100 meters and our time is 0. So what that represents is the start of the race. Okay, we haven't gone anywhere yet. We're still 100 meters from the start. Or sorry, 100 meters from the finish, and the time hasn't elapsed yet. Well, then the point 10, 0. What does that represent? Well, our time is 10 seconds now, and our distance from the finish is 0. So that represents the end of the race. Okay, because we are 0 meters from the finish line, that means the race is finished. It's over at that point. Alright, and that's just kind of how you can read these graphs using intercepts and make them go with real-world examples. Alright, this lesson should be pretty easy as long as you follow the rules we gave you. If you have any questions, ask. Otherwise, good luck on your homework.